I'd like to talk about the disturbing epidemic of what I'd call upside-down morality, in which we find every possible way to contextualize or excuse evil and the victimizer, but we don't show passion or compassion or anything for the victim. And any time in a society you get an ology or an idea or a pretext to excuse behavior, you're going to get more of it. Let's take the trans shooter, Audrey Hale in Tennessee. She obviously acted out of hatred because she felt her gender dysphoria was oppressed by organized religion. She wrote a manifesto, but we didn't get the manifesto. In fact, we heard more about her trans problems than we did the actual reason why she went out to kill these people. I don't know if Robert Westman, another transgender in Minneapolis, felt that if he were to also kill young Christian children, that maybe society would take a deferential view of him as they had done with the manifesto of Miss Hale. But he also acted out. And my point on both of them, in referencing both of them, is the society itself began to rationalize it or explain the difficulties. They didn't say such things as, listen, if a person is taking dangerous levels of hormonal drugs, testosterone, estrogen, if they're engaged in very powerful antidepressant, which often accompanies it, if they've had very serious medical procedures, these things can promote, enhance, accelerate mental disturbance, and we have to be very careful about it. And when people act out violence, then we have to condemn it. If we don't condemn it, we can't deter it. And there's no excuse that a person is transgendered. None at all. The same thing is about homelessness. As soon as Irina Zaratutska was killed, the mayor of Charlotte, Vi Lyles, the first thing she said was, we don't want to demonize the homeless. That was DeCarlos Brown who murdered her. And the same thing was true with Rashid Dabney. He murdered Julie Chenul, a retired Auburn professor of veterinary medicine, and he was homeless. But he was also, they had another thing in common. DeCarlos Brown had committed 14 felonies and he was out. Mr. Rashid Dabney should have been in jail for 5 to 10 years. He is charged with a felony and had recently been dropped, and he was scot-free. And so when those stories came out, we were told, first of all, they were homeless. It doesn't really matter. Then we were told that in the case of DeCarlos Brown, and I'm referencing you, Van Jones, when you said the late Charlie Kirk should not have mentioned race in that case. He did not mention race himself. He didn't bring up the topic. He was reacting to what? Something you didn't say, that on the tape, if you listen very carefully, after he murders the young Ukrainian immigrant, DeCarlos Brown said, I got that white girl. I got that white girl, as he walked out dripping with blood. And so what I'm getting at is, let's not talk about the fact that we don't want to demonize homeless people or trans people, or we don't want to mention race. And remember, the DeCarlos Brown story was suppressed by the media for days, weeks even, as was the Auburn murder, as was the manifesto. So the society at large tries to massage these stories and in some way contextualize the violence. They don't really talk about the victims who were butchered or killed, or the lives of their family and friends that are ruined. And so what are we to do about this? I think all we can do is restore sanity and say, we're not going to worry about a person's homeless status once he commits violence. We're not going to worry about their race. There's not going to be any exemption for that. We're not going to worry about their sexual orientation or whether they're transitioning from one sex to another. All we're worried about, if you commit an act of violence and destroy an innocent person's life, you're going to face swift punishment. Swift punishment if you are found guilty, and we're not going to consider all of the mitigating circumstances that this therapeutic society has bombed us with, and which permit prohibits fast and severe punishment for the guilty who do what? They commit evil. And that's the thing we're worried about. And a final thought, when Arena was killed on the light rail, there were 3 people right across the aisle, and when they saw her collapse and she was looking at the ceiling thinking, I'm dying because a man just killed me for no reason, no one is helping me, they each got up, solitarily walked right by her in her last gasp, did not offer a tourniquet, did not offer to help, did not call anybody. I don't know why they did that. Maybe they thought if they did something like Daniel Penny and tried to intervene and save a life, that they might be prosecuted, or they might, who knows, or they were cowardly. But it's the same idea that we don't have any empathy for the victim. And if the victim doesn't fit a particular status that we call victim, the real victim of a physical act of violence, or murder or assault, but if they don't fit a particular rubric as a victim, that is based on their sexual orientation or their homeless status or their race, then we don't really care about them. And that's a stinging verdict on our collective amorality.
We're living in an age of upside-down morality. Killers and criminals get excuses while victims get ignored. A trans shooter slaughters Christians in Tennessee. Media hides the manifesto but amplifies her struggles. A homeless felon kills an innocent woman. Politicians rush to say, "Don't demonize the homeless." Another murderer shouts, "I got that white girl," but the press buries the story. This is insanity. Evil doesn't need context, it needs condemnation. Victims deserve justice, not lectures about the killer's identity. If you commit violence, your race, gender, or status doesn't matter. You face swift, severe punishment. Period. Until we restore moral clarity, America will keep excusing monsters and abandoning the innocent. And that's a verdict on our collective cowardice. If you value honest analysis and real conversations, make sure to subscribe. Hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. What did we miss, and what should we tackle next? Your voice makes this community stronger. Let's keep pushing for the truth together.